So, welcome. I've returned alive and well from my planned hospital stay, and today we will tackle hand B-13 from the level 5 of the official Bridgemaster campaign. So, we bid a 6 spades contract, and the opponent didn't bid, so that's quite easy. Uh, let's look for losers from South's perspective, presumably. And we don't have any losers in any of the side suits, not in hearts, not in clubs, not in diamonds. The only suit in which we do have potential losers is the trump suit. And, well, if trump split 2-2, then we can just play the ace and king of trumps and claim the contract. There's even with an overtrick. If trumps split 3-1 and the queen is not a singleton, well, we can still just win by playing the ace king and surrendering a trick to the queen of spades, no problem. So the only issue in terms of making our contract could arise if trump split 4-0 in some fashion. Which will presumably be the case since this is a level 5 hand, of course. So there is no choice to be made on track 1, as you can see. But there is a choice to be made right now. So let's see, what are we going to do? West opened the heart, right? The queen of hearts, which is probably from sequence, I guess. So I suppose West also has the jack and East has the king of hearts. Not really sure how that is going to matter, but let's keep it in mind. Well, what happens? How should I tackle the trump suit? I need to tackle trumps in some fashion. I mean, if I start playing the minor suits now, there's always the danger that one of them might get ruffed if the suit split very unfavorably. So we should tackle the trump suit either in this trick or maybe in the next, but we should tackle it quite early, I suppose. Now, the only problematic distributions are the 4-0 distributions. So what do we do if West turns up with all 4? Well, in this case, we could just play the ace to check, and then we will see that West has all trumps, and I think we can then just lead the 2 of spades towards the jack. If West wins the queen, well, he gets a queen, but then next time he returns like a minor suit or something, we play a low trump towards the jack, which holds, and then our king will draw the final trump. And West only makes his queen, so there's no problem, I think. And we can even start either with a low trump from South or with the ace. Doesn't really matter in the case West has all 4. So what do we do if East has all spades? That's the question. That is a little more problematic, I suppose. Since the jack in dummy is sort of useless in this scenario. If we play the jack of spades, East will just cover it with the queen. Yes, we can win our ace or our king if we want to, but we would have won that one anyway, and we don't have a 10 or even a 9 in spades to back it up. So if we at any point play the jack of spades, and East can cover it with the queen, we are lost. East can't even avoid, even if he wanted to. make two of his trump tricks. That's actually very interesting. I mean, the only way in which we can avoid East making two trump tricks if East has all four trumps. Because those four trumps that East has are four of the highest seven trumps. Meaning there are only three cards in the whole deck that can beat his trumps, which are our ace, our king, and our jack of spades. Meaning, in order for only one of them to make a trick, the ace, king, and jack all need to make separate tricks. That's mathematically, literally the only way how we can avoid it. If we don't make separate tricks with those three cards, East can't even avoid making two tricks with his trumps, even if he wanted to avoid. So, the jack of spades will, at some point, need to make a separate trick in that scenario. Now, how can the jack of spades ever make a trick? It can literally only happen if, like, East has to lead away from his trumps at some point. So our goal now should be to make East lead away from his trump holding at some point. I guess we can draw one round of trumps to see what happens. I mean, this cannot hurt really. As long as we keep our jack intact and covered. Because that jack is precious. This needs to make a trick, right? But one round of trumps doesn't hurt, and then we will probably see the 4-0 distribution, because if we play on that right now and start playing minor suits in some order, then there's always a small danger that somebody might be able to ruff with a trump holding that isn't a 4-0, so we might lose a contract which we didn't have to lose at all. So I think we should first establish the 4-0 holding, which I'm pretty much convinced will be the case. Yes, of course. Alright, so now this is a fact, and now we can act accordingly. So we should play our king now, because that will isolate the jack in north, and then whenever East gets the trick, he can just play his queen of spades and catch our jack. And again, that jack absolutely needs to make a trick. So we should force East to play trumps in a situation where the jack is still covered. So we should reduce East down to only trumps at some point, possibly. And in order to force East to play his trumps, well, we need to lose a trick to East, of course. And that can only occur with one of his trumps, because he has 4 of the 7 highest trumps out there, so 3 of them can get covered by ours, but the 4th one will always make a trick. So he will always make one trump trick. And yeah, if we want him to lead away from trumps, that's literally the only thing we can do is give him a trump trick of some sort at a point in which he only can return trumps after that. So what we need to do, long story short, is to reduce East to only holding 3 trumps and then to win a trick with one of his trumps. So that in the 12th trick he then needs to lead away from his queen and surrender a trick to our jack. Which unfortunately also means we can't surrender the trump trick to him by playing a trump. Why? Yeah, well, because if you play a round of trumps, the 2 and the 7, let's say, to surrender a trick to east, yeah, in the process of that, we isolate the jack. And whenever we isolate the jack, east will just happily play his queen and the jack will no longer make a trick, right? So the only way, literally, in which we can make this is to force east to rough on trick 11. On a trick on which we don't play trumps. Meaning, on trick 11, what must happen? Whoever leads, and I suppose it will be North, but whoever leads needs to lead a side suit. Maybe a diamond, maybe a heart, something like that. And yeah, it needs to be North who leads. And the reason is we only have ruffing potential for 2 hearts in this hand. So we can convert 2 of our small trumps by ruffing hearts from dummy at some point, right? And there is no potential to eliminate a third of our small trumps. So if South were to lead at trick 11, we would have a problem because we would also only have 3 trumps and we would have to lead a trump. And if we lead a trump, we isolate North Jack. So that's not good. We cannot lead trump on trick 11. Therefore, it cannot be South who leads that trick. It needs to be North with a side suit, and East has to rough because he only has trumps, and then South can under rough, possibly. Giving East the lead and forcing East to play away from his queen. That should be the plan, right? So now it's all about the execution. So one thing we need to do is, in order for North to be on lead at trick 11, because that needs to happen, we need to rough both hearts from dummy. That's not really a problem since we have 3 entries to dummy, 1 in clubs and 2 in diamonds. So some naive approach would just be cross in diamonds, rough a heart, cross in diamonds, rough a heart, and then play like a third round of diamonds and maybe 3 rounds of clubs or whatever. Yeah. That's maybe a plan. So just cross in diamonds, rough a heart. Cross in diamonds, rough a heart. That's 4 tricks, and then play a round of diamonds, which is 5, and play 3 rounds of clubs, which is 8, and at that point there are only 3 tricks left, and it's North's turn. after the third round of clubs, and we can lead North's last diamond and have the scenario which we wanted. The only question at this point, what distributions do we need from East for all of this to work? Well, obviously East would need to have 3 hearts. I'm pretty sure he does, since we started with not that many hearts. East would also need to have 3 clubs and 3 diamonds. Which one is most likely to fail? I suspect the diamonds are the most dangerous part of that, since we already have 7 diamonds, so East could easily have Doubleton diamonds. Now, if East had a Doubleton diamond, is there anything we could do to address this issue? By not playing 3 rounds of diamonds, maybe. So normally you want to play the suit first in which you suspect opponent to be longer. In this case, possibly clubs first. So we won't, at least the second time, we won't cross in diamonds to dummies. But I think crossing by playing 3 rounds of clubs is safer. Which we can easily do, but what does that help us? And what do these 10 and 9 of diamonds in dummy accomplish? They have to be there for some reason. Maybe if East turns up with a Doubleton Jack or something, we can, or maybe if West turns up with a Doubleton Jack, we can play 4 rounds of diamonds and not play 1 round of clubs. That's a possibility. Yeah, let's try it. So we will still cross in diamonds twice, I suppose. And then we will see if the Jack falls in a Doubleton of some sort. And if it does, we will probably change plans and not play a 3rd round of clubs, but a 4th round of diamonds instead, because we then know East has 4 diamonds, right? Okay, so the plan is as I laid out in the beginning. Cross in diamonds, rough a heart. Cross in diamonds. Yes, and the Jack falls on the 2nd trick. That's what I wanted to test. Right, so now we have to change gears a little bit. And we will only catch 1 of our high clubs, because we suspect East only to follow clubs twice, not 3 times anymore. So we rough a heart. That part of the plan stays unchanged. It's also quite encouraging that East plays the king, suggesting he doesn't have a further heart, which we also needed to be the case. So now we want to play 4 rounds of diamonds. So we want to unblock the diamond suit by playing the queen. So now we suspect East to have 1 diamond, 3 trumps, and 2 remaining cards, which must be clubs. So we play 2 rounds of clubs, ending in dummy, so just the king or just the ace, but not both. And then we cross, and now we don't play our club winner, but play our diamond winner instead. Yeah, East follows, and we pitch our ace of clubs. And now we're at the crucial point where with trick 11, North North is at the lead, which is important, and we cannot play a trump on this trick. So we play the queen of clubs, and East must ruff, and we will under ruff. Yes, and we under ruff, and now East on trick 12 is forced to lead away from his queen, giving the jack his trick. Alright, this was a quite logical hand actually. I mean, it sounds stupidly complicated, but I hope I was able to sort of break it down that, that this was literally the only mathematical way possible in which we could make our contract. Again, East had four of the 7 highest trumps in hand, so he was always going to make a trick with those, even if he didn't want to. Just like with the ace of trumps, you are always guaranteed to make a trick, whether you want to or not. The same is true for 4 of the highest 7, and or 3 of the highest 5, or 2 of the highest 3 trumps. And literally the only 3 cards that could ever beat his trumps were the ace, king, and jack of spades. So the jack was always needed to make a trick. Therefore, the only scenario literally in which this was possible was to force East to win his trump trick, which he will always win at trick 11 when there's only 3 trumps left, and he has to lead a trump after that. And also this trick 11 cannot be led with a trump, because that would isolate North's jack of spades. Let's see if the explanation gives any new insights, but I guess my explanation is better. Just kidding, of course. Not that good at explaining stuff. Yeah, so we would have made it if East had like a 4-3-3-3 distribution, but by playing diamonds first, we actually allowed us a little more flexibility by also making the contract in case East has a 4-3-4-2 distribution, which was the case in the given layout of the cards. I will skip over this one pretty quickly, but yeah. As soon as this jack of diamonds falls from west, we need to change plans a little bit. So we are not going to play 3 rounds of diamonds and 3 rounds of clubs like we intended to now. But instead we are playing 4 rounds of diamonds and only 2 rounds of clubs. And pitching one of our high clubs onto a diamond winner. Because our play has to match East's distribution. Yeah, the diamond count we can confirm on this trick. And now we play 2 rounds of clubs, not 3. And we have only winners in the side suits anyway, but we are going to choose to catch our diamond and not our club winner, because we suspect East has to follow diamonds and not clubs. And then we are at the situation we always wanted. East has only 3 trumps left. One of them surely is going to make a trick, but we don't have to isolate our jack in the process. We can just lead a club, and East has to ruff and we under ruff. And then East at trick 12 has to lead away from his queen. If both defenders had followed diamonds, we would have to play 3 rounds of clubs, I guess. Yeah. So North 4th round of diamond now of course is no good, because East can then ruff prematurely, so we want east to rough, but only at trick 11 and not earlier. So now is trick 11, now is the time for east to rough. Alright, I think this was actually pretty logical, although not obvious at first sight, but if you think through this logically, it's basically the only way which is even remotely possible, even if it's not very likely to succeed in a real bridge hand. Alright then,